The decree that changed everything the Galactic Dominion had ruled for 10,000 years. High Chancellor Vorith stood before the Council of Stars. His four eyes gleamed with hatred as he spoke the words that would doom his empire. Humanity is hereby declared a galactic threat. Any species, any fleet, any hunter who brings us human prisoners or human corpses will receive wealth beyond imagination. The hunt begins now. The chamber erupted in approval. Representatives from 100 species cheered and roared, and clicked their mandibles in excitement. They had all heard stories about the small human colony ships that had appeared at the edge of known space. They had all dismissed these soft, fragile creatures as easy prey. They were all wrong. The Krell make their move. The Krell Imperium answered the call first. They were proud warriors with scales like armor and teeth like daggers. Their empire had conquered 60 worlds through blood and fire. They feared nothing in the galaxy. War Master Thrak commanded the hunting fleet personally. 12 battle cruisers, 40 destroyers, 200 fighter craft. Enough firepower to crack a planet in half. The humans have one ship, Thrak growled to his officers. One pathetic vessel hiding in the nebula of tears. We will crush them like insects and feast on their bones. His officers roared their approval. They had studied the human ship specifications. It was small. Its weapons seemed primitive. Its shields appeared weak. This would be the easiest hunt of their lives. The Krell fleet jumped into hyperspace. They emerged at the edge of the nebula with weapons hot and scanners active. They found their target immediately. The human ship floated alone in the cosmic dust. It was called the Prometheus. Compared to the Krell battlecruisers, it looked like a child's toy. Thrak bared his teeth in a predator's smile. All ships attack formation. Leave nothing but ash. Captain Elena Vance on the bridge of the Prometheus. Captain Elena Vance watched the Krell fleet approach. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She had seen 60 years of life, most of them spent among the stars. Her first officer, Commander David Chen, stood beside her. Captain, we're outnumbered 50-1. Standard protocol says we should run. Elena smiled softly. The standard protocol was written by people who never met us, David. How many times have we been outnumbered? Every time, Captain. And how many times have we lost? David allowed himself a small grin. Never, Captain. Elena nodded and activated the ship-wide communication system. Her voice reached every human aboard the Prometheus. This is your captain speaking. We have visitors. They think we're prey. Let's show them the truth about humanity. The crew responded with quiet efficiency. No panic, no fear, just calm professional focus. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. The ambush reversed the Krell fleet, surrounded the Prometheus like wolves circling a wounded deer. Thrak savored the moment. He would be celebrated as a hero across the galaxy. His name would echo through history. A human vessel, Thrak broadcast across all frequencies. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and you will suffer for days. The response came in a woman's steady voice. This is Captain Elena Vance of the Prometheus. I have a counteroffer. Leave now and some of you might survive. The Krell fleet erupted in laughter. Thrak slammed his fist against his command throne. Arrogant creatures, all ships open fire. 200 weapon systems fired simultaneously. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes and kinetic rounds screamed toward the tiny human ship. None of them hit. The Prometheus simply was not there anymore. It had moved. Not through normal space, not through hyperspace. It had shifted sideways through a dimension the Krell had never discovered. Thrak stared at his empty targeting screen. Where did they go? Find them, a voice answered from directly behind him. We're right here. Thrak spun around. The main view screen showed the Prometheus floating calmly behind his flagship. How had it moved? How had it passed through an entire fleet without detection? Then the human ship fired. The technology gap, the Prometheus did not use energy weapons or missiles or any weapon the galaxy recognized. It used something far more terrifying. Reality itself bent around the Krell flagship. Space twisted like wet cloth being wrung dry. The battlecruiser's hull groaned and screamed as forces beyond comprehension tore at its structure. Thrak watched in horror as his ship began to fold inward. Metal compressed. Systems failed. Crew members were crushed by their own corridors collapsing around them. Impossible, Thrak whispered. This is impossible. The flagship imploded silently. One moment it was there. The next moment it was a sphere of compressed matter no larger than a coin. The rest of the Krell fleet opened fire in panic. They hit nothing. The Prometheus danced between their attacks like a ghost. It appeared here, struck there, vanished again. Destroyers crumpled like paper. Battle cruisers tore themselves apart trying to target something that would not stay in one place. Fighter craft flew into gravity wells that appeared from nowhere and were crushed into atoms. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it ended, not a single Krell vessel remained intact. Debris fields stretched across thousands of kilometers. Emergency beacons blinked in the darkness, marking the locations of survivors floating in escape pods. The survivors' testimony that Prometheus collected every survivor. 4,000 Krell warriors found themselves aboard the human vessel, defeated and confused. They expected torture. They expected death. They expected revenge. Instead, they received medical care, food, clean water, comfortable quarters. Captain Vance visited them personally. She walked among the defeated Krell without fear, without guards, without weapons. "You came to hunt us," she said quietly. "You came to kill our children and enslave our people. By every law of war, we could execute you all." The Krell warriors waited in silence. Many had accepted death already. "But we are not hunters," Vance continued. "We are survivors. We have been hunted before. We have been burned before. We have been erased before. And we always return." She paused at the cell of a young Krell officer. He was barely adult by his species standards. His scales were still soft in places. "You will be released at the nearest neutral station," Vance told him. "You will tell your people what happened here. You will tell them the truth." The young Krell found his voice. What truth? Vance looked at him with eyes that had seen too much death and too much survival. The truth that humanity is not prey. The truth that hunting us is not profitable. The truth that every species that has ever tried to exterminate us has paid the ultimate price. She turned and walked away. She turned and walked away. "We did not start this hunt, but we will end it." Fear spreads across the stars. The survivors reached neutral station 3 days later. Their story spread like fire across dry grass. The mighty Krell fleet destroyed in minutes. Their war master killed instantly. Their weapons useless against technology that broke the laws of physics. At first, the galaxy did not believe. The Galactic Dominion dismissed the reports as exaggeration. High Chancellor Voreth laughed at the terrified Krell survivors. They were defeated by trickery, Voreth announced. "The humans are clever, nothing more. The next fleet will succeed." But the next fleet did not succeed. The Marathi Syndicate sent 50 assassin ships to hunt human traders. None of the assassins returned. Their ships were found drifting empty in deep space. No bodies, no damage. Just empty vessels with all systems intact. The Vexen Collective deployed a massive carrier group to corner a human convoy. The carrier group vanished completely. Search parties found only a single message beacon floating where the fleet had been. The message contained 3 words. "We warned you." The galaxy begins to wonder. Species across the Dominion started asking uncomfortable questions. Who were these humans? Where had they come from? How did they possess technology that made the mightiest fleets look like children's toys? The official records said humanity had appeared 20 years ago. Small colony ships seeking peaceful trade. Quiet settlements on unimportant worlds. But some species had older records. Some species had fragments of ancient texts that spoke of different things. The archivists of Kalos Prime found a reference in a 10,000-year-old database. A species matching human description had been mentioned in records that predated the Galactic Dominion itself. The reference called them the survivors and warned against disturbing them. The warning had been ignored. The archive masters of the Stellar Library discovered something even more disturbing. Their oldest text spoke of an ancient war, a war fought before most current species had evolved, a war that had nearly destroyed the galaxy itself. And somewhere in those texts, there was a name that made the archive masters tremble. Architects. The hunt continues despite the losses. The hunt did not stop. Too many species wanted the bounty. Too many believed they would succeed where others had failed. Too many thought humanity's victories were just luck. The Zethrani were watching. They were the galaxy's greatest predators. They had never lost a hunt in their entire history. They had toppled empires and exterminated species for sport, and now they saw an opportunity. Lord Kesith, leader of the Zethrani hunting clans, called his warriors together. The lesser species have failed because they underestimated the prey. We will not make that mistake. We will study these humans. We will learn their weaknesses. And when we strike, there will be no survivors." His warriors howled their approval. The greatest hunt in Zethrani history was about to begin. On the Prometheus, Captain Vance received intelligence reports about the Zethrani mobilization. She read them carefully, then looked out at the stars. "They're sending their best," Commander Chen observed. "Critters, Sorgasons, the Zethrani have never been defeated." Vance nodded slowly. "Neither have we, David, neither have we." She closed the report and began preparing for what was to come. The galaxy had not yet learned its lesson. More hunters would come. More species would try their luck. And humanity would be waiting for all of them. The hunt was far from over. The Grand Coalition Form's High Chancellor Vorath refused to accept failure. His pride would not allow it. His power demanded victory. So he did something that had never been done in the history of the Galactic Dominion. He formed the Grand Coalition. "All species will contribute," Vorath declared before the Council of Stars. "All fleets will combine. All resources will be shared. We will crush humanity not with one hammer, but with 1,000. The response was immediate. Species that had warred for centuries put aside their hatred. Enemies became allies. Rivals became partners. The promise of human extinction united them all. The Grand Coalition assembled at the edge of Dominion space. 3,000 warships from 40 different species. The largest fleet ever gathered in recorded history. Enough firepower to burn 100 worlds to ash. Lord Kesseth of the Zethrani commanded the forward assault force. His hunters would strike first. His people would claim the glory. "The humans have one advantage," Kesseth told his officers. "Speed. They appear and disappear before their enemies can react. So we will not give them time to react. We will strike everywhere at once. We will overwhelm them with numbers they cannot escape." His plan was simple but effective. The Grand Coalition would attack every known human settlement simultaneously. Even if the Prometheus could defend one location, it could not defend them all, or so Kesseth believed. The humans prepare Captain Vance stood before a holographic display of Coalition fleet movements. The enemy's strategy was obvious. They would scatter humanity's defenses across a dozen worlds. "They've learned from their losses," Commander Chen observed. "This isn't arrogance anymore. This is desperation." Vance nodded. Desperate enemies are dangerous enemies. They take risks they normally wouldn't. "So what do we do, Captain?" Vance was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was heavy with reluctance. "We've avoided this for 20 years, David. We've hidden our true capabilities. And we've tried to teach the galaxy that hunting us was pointless. They didn't learn. No, they didn't." Vance turned away from the display. "Contact the other ships. It's time to stop hiding." Chen's eyes widened. All of them. Omega Station, the Zethrani forward force arrived at Omega Station first. It was a small human outpost on the edge of Coalition space. Mining operations, civilian workers, almost no defenses. Perfect prey. Lord Kesseth himself led the assault. His flagship, the Eternal Hunter, dropped out of hyperspace with 40 Zethrani warships screaming behind it. They expected to find a handful of frightened humans preparing to flee. They found something else entirely. The space around Omega Station was filled with ships, not human colony vessels. Not trading craft, warships, hundreds of them. Ships that matched the Prometheus in design but dwarfed her in size. Kesseth stared at his tactical display in disbelief. "Impossible. Our intelligence said the humans had no military fleet." His sensor officer's voice trembled. "Lord Kesseth, we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. These ships, they're not from our era." "What do you mean?" "I mean their technology is thousands of years more advanced than anything we've encountered. These ships are ancient and brand new at the same time." Kesseth felt something he had never experienced in his long career as a hunter. Fear. The truth emerged as a communication signal reached the Eternal Hunter, audio only. A woman's voice. "Lord Kesseth of the Zethrani, this is Admiral Anna Vance of the Human Defense Force. You have entered a protected zone. You have one opportunity to withdraw." Kesseth found his voice. "You have hidden much from us, human, but numbers alone will not save you. The Grand Coalition is attacking your settlements across the galaxy. Even if you destroy us here, your people will burn." A soft laugh came through the speakers. "Oh, Kesseth, You still don't understand. The stars flickered. Kesseth blinked. For a fraction of a second, the view screen had shown something impossible. For that brief instant, the darkness between the stars had been filled with light. Thousands of points of light. An armada beyond counting. Then they were gone, hidden again. Every settlement you're attacking right now is continued. Every world you plan to burn is protected by more firepower than your entire coalition combined. You never had a chance, Lord Kesseth. You never stood a chance. The hunter becomes the hunted across the galaxy. The Grand Coalition's coordinated attack met the same impossible resistance. On world after world, coalition forces emerged from hyperspace expecting easy victories. They found ancient warships waiting for them. At Kepler Colony, a Marathi strike force encountered a defense grid that simply erased their missiles from existence. At New Haven, Vexen boarding ships tried to breach human transports and found themselves transported into the vacuum of space instead. At Terra Nova, the largest coalition battle group faced a single human vessel that somehow existed in multiple places simultaneously, firing from a dozen different positions at once. The Grand Coalition shattered in hours. 3,000 warships became debris fields and rescue beacons. The greatest military force in galactic history was broken against an enemy they had completely misunderstood. The ancient secret on the Eternal Hunter. Lord Kesseth watched his fleet die around him. His warriors fought bravely, but uselessly. Their weapons could not track targets that moved through dimensions. Their shields could not block attacks that came from inside their own ships. Admiral Vance appeared on his view screen. She looked tired. Not triumphant. Just tired. You want to know who we are, she said. You want to know why your weapons don't work. You want to know why hunting us was always going to end this way. Kesseth said nothing. He had no words left. 10,000 years ago, there was a war, Vance began. A war fought across this entire galaxy. A war between species that made the Dominion look like children playing with toys. She paused, and her eyes grew distant. Humanity wasn't always hiding on Earth. We weren't always primitive mammals struggling to survive. Once, we were the architects. We built the hyperlanes your ships travel. We created the stable jump points you take for granted. We seeded this galaxy with life. Kesseth's hearts beat faster. The old legends, the forbidden texts, the warnings in ancient archives. Then we made enemies, Vance continued. Enemies from outside. Enemies who came from the spaces between galaxies. We fought them for 1,000 years. We reduced ourselves to primitives on a single world and buried our technology so deep, it took us millennia to remember. We hid because we were tired. Because we wanted peace. She looked directly at Kesseth. And then you found us, and you decided to hunt us. You decided to wake us up. The New Order High Chancellor Voreth received the news in his throne room. The Grand Coalition destroyed. Every fleet eliminated. Every hunter killed or captured. And now the humans were coming. Not to conquer. Not to enslave, not to exterminate, to explain. Admiral Vance appeared before the Council of Stars via holographic projection. She stood alone, a small woman surrounded by the most powerful beings in the known galaxy. You have two choices, she said simply. You can continue hunting us. We have shown you what that choice costs. Or you can accept a new reality. Voreth found his voice. What reality? That humanity is not prey, that we never were. That every time our species has been pushed to the edge of extinction, we have returned stronger. We have been driven from worlds. We have been burned from space. We have been erased from history, and we always survive. She let those words hang in the air. The Galactic Dominion can continue to exist. Your species can continue to thrive. Your civilizations can grow and prosper, but the hunting stops today. The bounties end now. Anyone who raises a weapon against humanity from this moment forward will face the full strength of what we truly are. Voreth wanted to argue. He wanted to threaten. He wanted to rage against this small creature who dared to dictate terms to the masters of the galaxy, but he had seen the fleet counts. He had read the battle reports. He had watched the mightiest military force in history break like waves against a cliff. He bowed his head. The hunting ends. The survivor's warning 1 year later, the galaxy had changed. The Galactic Dominion still existed, but it no longer commanded through fear alone. Trade routes opened. Species that had been enemies for millennia began talking, and humanity watched. The Prometheus remained in service, now part of a larger fleet that no longer hid. Captain Vance had retired, replaced by younger officers who had grown up knowing the truth about their species. But she left them with one final piece of wisdom. "We are survivors," she wrote in her last message to the fleet. "We have survived ice ages and plagues and wars that burned our world to ash. We have survived enemies within and enemies without. We have survived forgetting who we were and remembering again. But survival is not the same as peace. The galaxy has learned to fear us now. Fear keeps them careful. Fear prevents them from hunting us again. Yet fear is not enough. Someday, something else will come from outside. Something else will threaten this galaxy. When that day comes, the species that once hunted us will need to stand beside us. They will need to see us as allies, not just as survivors. Until then, we wait. We remember. And we make sure the galaxy never forgets what happens to those who try to hunt humanity." Conclusion: the galaxy had learned its lesson. Hunting humans was not profitable. It was not glorious. It was not glorious. It was not even possible. It was simply death. But somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, something stirred. Something ancient. Something that remembered the war 10,000 years ago. Something that had never forgiven the architects for driving it back. And it was coming. When that day arrived, the galaxy would face a choice. Stand together with the species they had once hunted, or face extinction alone. But that is a story for another time. For now, the stars were quiet. The hunters had become the hunted, and the hunted had become the guardians. Humanity had paid a terrible price for survival. They had lost their civilization. They had lost their history. They had lost almost everything that made them who they were. But they had survived. And in the end, that was all that mattered. The end.